Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second session of Service Desk Plus Masterclass series. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking your time to join us for this session. Today, we look into the 5 hacks to create and deliver an effective service management for your organization. The first session, we looked at incident management, and as an extension to the second session, we'll cover the hacks in service management. I'm Zephaniah, and I'll be your trainer for the session today. This would be our brief agenda for what we will be covering today. We will segregate the service management effort into 5 different hacks. First up, how you could define independent service desks for service departments. What do you gain by detailing your self-service portal? The advantages that an useful knowledge base provides and how establishing and maintaining it helps your service management efforts. The customizing the service catalog and how helpful it would be for your service templates. And finally, how you could onboard an end user easily. We will look at all these parallelly with the use case of Zilker. Now, let's get on to our session. We have Zilker. Zilker is an IT company where all their teams and departments are working across the country remotely. But they are on a recruitment drive and they're facing a very common challenge: how to remotely onboard numerous users efficiently. Mainly because Zilker has a fairly large process to onboard a user. You can see there are about 6 departments working in tandem on a plethora of tasks to successfully onboard a single user. Therefore, when the entire team and the departments are working separately at various times without too much communication uh, gaps, there tends to be certain process inefficiencies that occur. So how did Zilker streamline this entire process? And during this entire process, they face many challenges. We'll segregate these challenges into 5 main challenges and how, using Service Desk Plus, they were able to overcome these challenges one by one. First off, let's look at the 5 challenges that they faced. These are the challenges that Zilker faced in their remote onboarding process. First, disparate channels to log service requests. Zilker did not have a consistent way to submit service requests, especially an onboarding request, which requires a minimum amount of data to process a user. Onboarding a user through email or through calls would often leave certain information, and the IT service desk has to call back and forth between the hiring manager and the HR executives. Next, once the request was submitted, the hiring managers did not have any visibility to track the request. This led to frequent calls to the service desk. This was a drain in a productivity. And then, even in this large recruitment drive, the IT service desk were tasked to fight the low-level tickets and the daily firefighting of low-level incidents. Therefore, their workload was hectic. How did Zilker overcome this challenge? Next, as we can see, a remote onboarding process was a fairly large deal, and therefore they did not have a standardized process in place. A new employee who just joined did not know the certain processes that need to be done, and sometimes this led to misaligned expectations, the wrong informations being sent to the onboarded user, and this led to many complexities. Overall, culminating all of this together, to onboard a single user, it took a long time for Zilker. So we'll look at how Zilker used 5 simple hacks to overcome these 5 challenges. We'll go through these challenges one by one and the hack that they used with Service Desk Plus. The first challenge, disparate channels. To overcome disparate channels, Zilker used a very simple and quick hack. The tricky part of this challenge is that unlike incidents where you could just call to this IT service desk or you could just send an email saying that you have an issue and the IT service desk would be glad to sort it out, an onboarding service request typically would require more detailed information and more accurate information to be more specific. And Zilker did not have a consistent way of logging this accurate information. They always lost certain information or some tasks were falling through the cracks and so much more. So to overcome this, Zilker used a very quick hack. They created independent service desks for different departments to suit their unique requirements. Let me show you how that helps. This is the hiring manager's ESM portal. It is a central location where the hiring manager can gain access to all the different service desk instances in their organization. As you can see, you have housekeeping, facilities, IT help desk, and HR help desk. Now let's head on to click IT help desk, and the hiring manager would be redirected to the IT self-service portal. This is the IT self-service portal. Now, the hiring manager has access to the service catalog where you have multiple templates such as employee onboarding and offboarding, which enables a consistent way of recording information. Now, you might also wonder, is it difficult to switch between service desk instances? It is not. On the top left corner of the instances icon, you could have access to all the various service desk instances that are at play. By clicking on the HR Help Desk instance, without toggling between windows, you can move between service desk instances. A fair point to note over here is that the hiring manager was an end user or a requester in the IT self-service portal. That was the view the hiring manager got. But once she moved to the HR help desk, she is a technician. This is the technician view of the HR help desk portal. And therefore, just according to the role of an employee, the view of the service desk instances and the functionality of the service desk instances changes. All this without moving between windows. And next up, I'll show you why I said this was a quick hack. Let me show you how you could create unique service desk instances. Let's head on to our admin account. On the top left corner, the instances icon, there is ESM directory. Under ESM directory, we can head over to service desk instances and get a view of all the service desk instances that is available at Zilker. Below, we can create a new instance, give a simple name, a description, a URL name, maybe like payroll desk, and provide an owner who would be the admin for this service desk instance. You could even provide access permissions, whether this instance would be available for everyone or only with users, certain user groups, the instance would show up. And once you click create, within 60 seconds, you could create a new service desk instance. And that is how, with a very quick hack, Zilker was able to overcome their disparate channels challenge. They were able to consistently log the accurate service requests. The next challenge that Zilker faced was the lack of visibility. Once the hiring manager raised a service request, there was no visibility to track the requests. So this led to frequent calls to the IT service desk. And especially in this remote working situation, that was a huge drain in productivity. The IT technician has to would be working on another ticket and would have to take the call, switch the context of his work environment, track the request, relay the information back to the hiring manager, and then get back to his or her work or the ticket again. This took significant amount of time, which breaks the momentum for the technician and reduces the overall quality of work. And Zilker found this and pinpointed this challenge and employed a hack, which is building a detailed self-service portal. Now, the word detailed might sound daunting, but it comes under a hack in Service Desk Plus, especially because Service Desk Plus offers self-service portal with almost all the functionalities that an organization needs right outside the box. Now, we just saw a glance of the self-service portal of our hiring manager. Let's go a little into detail. Let's head to the IT help desk. This is the self-service portal for our hiring manager. This is the IT self-service portal for Zilker. Over here, we have a search bar, which is a universal search bar. And if for any issue that the hiring manager faces, she could type just a keyword and anything related to it would pop up together in the consolidated search results page. As you can see, there she has raised a request which she could track over here, the solutions pertaining to VPN, and there's also a template already created. Also, there are action buttons below where she could quickly raise an incident, a new service request, and view the solutions. The widgets below help her track all her completed requests, on-hold requests, and any other pending requests as well. This gave her a complete view, and there was the lack of transparency was removed because of the self-service portal. She could keep a track of her assets and report on issues as well, and manage the announcements that IT makes. She was able to manage the approvals that she was part of through the top right approval column as well. Now, apart from this, Zilker was able to completely customize the look and feel of the self-service portal as well. Let me show you how you can do that. Under the admin account, under setup, we have requester portal settings. We can customize our requester portal or the self-service portal according to the organizational branding requirements. The widgets can be dragged and dropped and resized in a simple graphical canvas. Or if you want to completely change the look, feel, and the functionality, you can as well use the built-in HTML editor and add the design cues that you would like to see. Let me paste a sample HTML code over here. Now, once I change the HTML code, you could see the functionality and the look and feel has changed. There is an extra action icon which shows that you could view all the requests, and the overall look has been changed. Now, if you're not a big fan of coding, there are pre-designed templates available where you could just click a template and within a second, the self-service portal would change its look. Now that a customized self-service portal was employed by Zilker, there was one more quick trick that Zilker employed to completely remove the opaqueness of the onboarding process. They leveraged Service Desk Plus AI chatbot, Zia. So with Zia, the hiring manager need not navigate through the self-service portal to find something that she needs. She could just create a ticket by conversing with Zia like that. And the best part of it, Zia is available as a HTML source code widget. And therefore, Zilker was able to employ Zia at various touch points of their business, such as their intranet sites and other places the hiring manager would visit frequently within the organizational network. As a sample site, let me show you. This is a sample site where Zia is made available. As you can see, Zia is available as a widget right within the sample site. And that is how Zilker was able to overcome their lack of visibility to track their onboarding requests. Now, any hiring manager could just talk with Zia to know the status of any onboarding request rather than even navigating to the self-service portal, which by itself is a powerful option. Next, the third challenge that Zilker faced was the lack of knowledge base. So during this entire recruitment drive, the IT service desk was still facing a lot of low-level incidents and had to manage the low-level service requests that they got. So this was a huge workload that they faced, and this again led to a drop in the performance of the IT service desk. So how did Zilker tackle this? So they employed the third hack, building and managing a useful knowledge base. Now, building and establishing might again seem like a big task, but with Service Desk Plus, it was made a lot more easier. Let me show you the Solutions tab of Service Desk Plus. This is the knowledge base of Zilker's IT Service Desk. On the left-hand column, you could manage all these solutions under various topics and subtopics. You could create any new topic, and you could sort it under any heading to act as a subtopic by simply dragging and dropping it. Similarly, you could also create new solutions just for a sample solution and add it to any topic. This would come under network, and add keywords. The important thing to note about keywords is that using these keywords, Service Desk Plus automatically suggests solutions right when a user is about to create a ticket. This significantly dropped the number of tickets that came to IT Service Desk. Let me show you how. Let's head on to our hiring manager's portal and create a new service request. Let's assume she's facing a VPN issue. And as you can see, right when I finish this finish typing the VPN issue, solutions are suggested on the right-hand column. We have VPN setup, VPN troubleshooting, and more. And using this, Zilker was able to quickly reduce the number of incidents that their service desk frequently got, thereby dropping the amount of work that they were able to get. Next up, let's see the fourth challenge that they faced. A lack of standardization in process led to complexities. As I mentioned earlier, this was a large project that Zilker had to take. When they were in office, they had a proper procedure for onboarding. But now all their team members are working at different times, maybe at a difference of plus or minus 1 hour, but still they are working in various environments, and we do not know what they are doing, and they might not be available at all times. This led to communication gaps and process misalignments. Certain information might not be transmitted well, and all this led to many complexities, and there was a delay in the overall onboarding process. So how did Zilker overcome this? For this, they employed a very powerful hack. They designed a customized service catalog. This ensured that they were able to take complete control of their service delivery. Now, we look at how Zilker did this right now. Let's head on to our admin account. Under setup, we have service category. The service category lists all the services that Zilker's IT offers to their organization. Under user management, you could see a couple of service templates, employee onboarding and offboarding. These templates essentially gave control to Zilker. Now let's go behind the scenes of these templates and how it works. We'll head over to employee onboarding. Now, this is the technician view of the employee onboarding service template. A technician view, as in, this is the information that a technician gets to see when an onboarding ticket arrives at his desk. You could modify the information and the details by dragging and dropping various input fields from the right-hand corner. The drag and drop canvas also allows you to add any new section and add columns as you see fit. If you need to add any new fields, on the right-hand column, you have a list of the various types of input fields, from percentage to decimal, currency, date or time, and a lot more. Now, if we scroll below in the technician view, we could see service cost. Zilker had to track their cost for each onboarding request as a part of their cost center, and they were able to build this right within the template. And this heavily helped them. Next, we have the requester view. Requester view is very similar to technician view, except this showcases all the input fields that a requester has to fill while onboarding a new user, essentially while filling up a new onboarding ticket. And again, you could also add in new fields that a requester needs to fill in from the right-hand column, and you could make those fields either mandatory, non-mandatory, and so on. Next up, we have resource info. Resource info is one of the most important tabs of a service template. Under resource info, Zilker were able to add all the questions that gather the right details needed to onboard an employee. The IT service desk added questions such as the category of new hire, maybe contractor, freelancer, permanent, and the personal details, the role of the hire, and the hardware and software requirements, along with the cost. You can also see that you could add images, icons, and more details to give a comprehensive look for the service for the resource info segment. This ensured that there was never any information that falls through, and this IT service desk has to call back their hiring manager to ask for that. This was all small micro delays, which all culminated for a longer delay. Next, we have approvals. Approvals were also built in right into the service template. Zilker was able to configure us up to 5 stages of approvals. And the approvers could either be users or organizational roles as well. I would suggest adding organizational roles, so even when a user is replaced, you do not have to come here to change any setup. And just like that, the delay in approvals that Zilker faced were quickly vanished, right by baking it within the service template. Next up, we have SLAs. SLAs ensure the timely delivery of every service request. You could configure an SLA right from the admin settings as well, or you could create a new SLA right within the template. The SLAs previously configured are available in the drop-down list below, or you could create a new SLA, for instance, an onboarding SLA, and add conditions such as how much time a new service request should be responded and how much time it should be fulfilled within. And if it isn't, you could add up to 4 levels of escalation for the resolution time. You could choose the members that needs to be escalated, either technicians or organizational roles, and you could choose the actions that need to take place when the escalation occurs. And with this, Zilker was able to associate SLAs and ensure timely delivery of every onboarding request. Next up, tasks. Zilker was able to build in the task right within the template. As you could see, there are multiple IT tasks, and these were built right within the template so that none of the tasks would be forgotten, would be missed, or would be overseen. And there is a quick trick that Zilker also employed here. On this checkbox, you could see you could allow requesters to select tasks while creating requests from this template. So the hiring manager had the freedom to choose the task that needs to be done. Because, for instance, the tasks need to be done for a freelancer would be a lot different than the tasks need to be done for a permanent employee. And while filling a form for a freelancer, the hiring manager could choose the task that a freelancer needs and a permanent employee might not need. And you could also visually sequence the tasks with the task dependency map so that the child tasks such as the external accessories and installation of additional software would be completed and only when the device allocation task has been completed. These child tasks would be assigned to technicians only after the completion of its parent task. And with this, all the task issues that Zilker faced were quickly overcome. Finally, we have form rules in the service template. Form rules are condition-based actions, criteria-based actions that execute on the fields of the requester view and the resource info. This is essentially to prevent the cumbersome feel that you get when you fill up large amount of details in a long form. Especially in an onboarding request, there are multiple fields that you need to fill up, and you need to be very careful on the fields that you fill up. If you give a wrong input in a wrong field, it would again lead to complexities in the process later. So field and form rules ensure certain fields show up only when a certain input is given. I'll show you in action in a bit. Before that, let's head on to the main element that helped Zilker standardize this entire process. While all these were built into the service template, it is the life cycle that enforced this process. So even any technician cannot take any unauthorized action. So let me show you what a life cycle is. In our previous session, the incident management, we went through in detail of how to configure a request lifecycle. So for now, we'll just give a mild glance, and I'll show you what the request lifecycle is capable of. This is the canvas where you could design your request lifecycle. The request lifecycle is mapping the complete journey that a ticket would take. The white flags over here are the various statuses that a ticket would move during a ticket journey. And the green flags are transitions that a technician has to click for the ticket to move between one status and another. For instance, when the ticket is in open status, the technician has the option to either hold the ticket or assign the ticket. When he clicks assign, it would move into the assigned status. And to make this request lifecycle more powerful, you could add actions to be triggered when a transition is clicked by the technician. When we click the green flag assign, we can see there are 3 stages of actions. Before is essentially when the assigned transition would be visible to the technician. You could add a criteria for that has to be satisfied for the assigned transition to appear, or you could also provide the scope, that is only certain use technician groups or organizational role would have access to the assigned transition. Next, during the transition, you could add certain fields to be mandated. That is, a ticket would move from open to the assigned status only when certain fields are filled. Also, you could add a rule set that updates any field value based on the criteria that you select. Now, after the ticket moves from one status to another, you could execute further functions as well. This could be a notification, running a custom functions based on scripts, adding a task, or even triggering a webhook. All this based on a criteria that you select, or you could choose to apply it with no conditions as well. And this is how Zilker standardized their entire request lifecycle process. Now, I did mention that I'll show you how field and form rules would be in action, right? Let's head over to our hiring manager's self-service portal and create an onboarding request. Click request a service. This is the service catalog that Zilker's IT offers. Under user management, we have employee onboarding template. We just saw how this template works behind the scenes. And this is the requester view. It's a pre-populated form where the hiring manager just needs to give the name of the new onboardee. Let's remove the editor and give an ID of the HR. Now, let's assume uh, the employee doesn't need employee workspace because they're working from home. So the hiring manager has the freedom to uncheck employee workspace and remove that unnecessary task. So it's easier overall. And below we have resource info. We saw a lot more questions under resource info, but only one is visible over here. Why is that? Now let's click on the drop down list and choose the category of hire, permanent employee. Once we click permanent employee, there are further more fields that appear below. And this is the direct effect of field and form rules. This ensures that you do not have to fill long details of forms. The fields that are relevant to a permanent employee only appears when you choose permanent employee, thus creating a dynamic nature to the form. Let me show you that again. Let me choose the role regional sales manager. And the hardware and software requirements needed for a regional sales manager shows up over here. That is the MacBook Air and Apple Station, the software that he or she might need, and the peripherals. And it is that easy to just click to simply add an onboarding request. And this onboarding request comes built in with the approvals and tasks and the RLC, the request lifecycle that we saw. And we could see on the top right corner, the SLA is visible as well. And that is how Zilker overcame this huge hurdle that they faced by designing a customized service catalog, a very powerful hack from Service Desk Plus. Now let's look at the final challenge that Zilker faced. Long time to onboard a single user. Now, after employing the previous 4 hacks, this significantly reduced Zilker's time to onboard a single user. However, they did want to accelerate a little bit further, boost it a little bit more, add a little more efficiency. And for that, they leveraged the 5th hack, essentially integrations. Zilker integrated their Service Desk Plus with AD Manager Plus and Mobile Device Manager Plus. Under the setup, you could head over to integrations where you could see ManageEngine integrations, and you have a couple of products. For with AD Manager Plus, Zilker would be able to assign a user to their Active Directory without ever leaving the ticket. They were able to create, modify user details in the Active Directory without toggling windows. Right from within the ticket, they had access to their Active Directory. And this significantly increased their speed of processing an onboarding request. And with Mobile Device Manager Plus, they were also able to assign assets right from within the ticket. And they were able to track their assets. And they did not need to go toggle between different software windows. And this, again, significantly accelerated and sped up their process and helped them onboard users easily. One more trick that the hiring manager of Zilker did was that she saw the benefits that a very powerful service template of that IT service desk offered. And she decided, why not we extend those best practices to the HR as well? And for that, she created a template, a very similar template in her HR help desk as well. And under this template, she included a very neat trick, which is adding a custom function. Let me show you how that works. We have a request over here using the employee onboarding template of the HR help desk. The new hire name is James Lee. Now, over here, Under task, we could see all the various HR related tasks that the hiring manager needs to perform. However, there are IT tasks as well. But to trigger that, she needs to head over to the IT service desk and create a template over there and raise a ticket. Rather, she created a custom form using scripts, and she added a menu right within the ticket where she could click trigger, and a ticket with all the requested IT tasks for the new joinee James Lee would be triggered on the IT desk without any extra effort. Let me show you how. Once we click trigger, a custom function would be executed, as you can see, and a ticket for James Lee with the IT relevant task would be triggered on the IT service desk. Let's head over to our IT help desk, service request list view, and we could see the James Lee employee onboarding ticket is created over here. And under task, we could see all the IT tasks that an IT has to perform to onboard James Lee. And with this custom function, a very neat, powerful hack, Zilker was able to stack with just one ticket, was able to create subsequent tickets in all the 6 departments that were working to onboard a user. And with that, they completely streamlined their process, as each template had their own approvals, SLAs, and they were able to track all the requests through independent service desk, centrally accessible through the ESM portal. Now you could see how these 5 hacks completely elevated their onboarding process. And when you see it together, and now their workflow looks like this. Zilker's hiring manager raises a new hire request from the self-service portal. With independent service desk, each service department gets their own self-service portal with their own service templates. And these service templates were able to gather the exact accurate information that they need to process their request. Then these requests will automatically be routed to the right technician groups with approvals built right in. And the task that comes up with all these services were automatically triggered to the right technician and in the right sequence using the task dependency map as well. On a parallel track, the Active Directory management task and the mobile device management task were taken care of using the integrations with AD Manager Plus and Mobile Device Manager Plus. Further, the SLAs were directly associated to the requests, and the timely delivery of the request was maintained. And all this process were standardized and enforced using request lifecycle. And the technician were not allowed to make any unauthorized movement to the ticket and were guided through the entire onboarding journey. And there was complete visibility with notifications being automatically sent, and you could track the request using the self-service portal, or even just simply sending a chat conversation in with Zia widget. And that is how Zilker overcame this huge remote hiring onboarding process. Let's have a quick recap of the 5 hacks that they did. To overcome their disparate channels where they did not have a consistent way of or logging a request, they created independent service desks for each of their service teams, service departments. Thus, every service department had a service template where they were able to log in the exact information needed. Then they built a detailed self-service portal to track the requests, manage their approvals, announcements, and all other things that they had to call an IT service desk earlier for, thereby increasing the time needed to process a single request. And to overcome the low-level request that keeps bothering them during this huge project, they employed a knowledge base. Establishing a knowledge base significantly dropped the number of low-level requests because the solutions were automatically suggested right when the ticket was created. The solutions were also accessible by asking Zia. Then they were able to build approvals and SLAs and tasks, and other elements of a service desk. A service template, and they were able to standardize their entire process using customized service catalog. And then finally, using custom functions and integrations to AD Manager Plus and Mobile Device Manager Plus, they were able to onboard end users easily. And these were the 5 hacks that significantly sped up their remote onboarding process. And that is how Zilka overcame this huge challenge. I really hope this gave a new perspective of how you could use Service Desk Plus to employ better solutions to your onboarding process, and you found it very useful. And if you need any more information, you could always check the admin guide. And here are other places where you could know more about the functionalities of Service Desk Plus. The community is a great way to engage with other users and see if you are facing any other issues similar to them. And always feel free to write to hello@servicedeskplus.com, our support email, or you could also send an email to me, zafania.b@servicedeskplus.com, and I'd be glad to sort out any issue that you might face. Really a huge thanks for all the attendees who were able to be part of this. Really appreciate the time that you took on your day to be part of this session. We hope to see you all in the next session as well. Be sure to register for that too. Thank you, be safe, and have a great day.